Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of NTC 2015, the Nonprofit Technology Conference. We are at the Austin Convention Center, Austin, Texas. We are kicking off our coverage with this interview. My guests now are Yasmin Nguyen and Sheri Chaney Jones. Welcome.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Their seminar topic is Stop Shooting Videos, Start Unlocking Stories. Yasmin Nguyen is founder and CEO of Vibrance Global, and Sheri Chaney Jones is president of Measurement Resources. Let's start, Sheri.
Mm-hmm.
What are nonprofits not doing quite as well as they could with video, interviews, storytelling?
Well, from my perspective, because we help nonprofits measure and communicate their impact and value, they often aren't focusing on their impact. So how are they changing lives and changing circumstances? They're too focused on the activities. So really understanding what your true impact is and telling your stories from there.
And you're trying to elicit really heartfelt storytelling stories.
Yes.
Emotional. We want emotional impact in this. Okay. What would you add, Yasmin?
I think that a lot of times we focus so much on the technology, the process of doing video, and also the questions that we ask people. And so we don't focus enough on the connection. And really, when you are able to provide a space for someone to open up, to feel that they can speak about their passion, be grateful, they then create that connection that we can then capture and witness through videos. And so it's that focus on that connection rather than just the information or that exchange.
Now, as we are today, you're asking people to get in front of lights and cameras and mics and open up. Yasmin, how are we going to start this process? First, let's start with how do we find the right people? And then we'll get into coaching them and getting their best performance and storytelling out of them. But how do we find the right ones?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. The key thing is selecting the right people. And that starts with being mindful of who your audience is. We found that the most impactful, relevant person to interview or talk with are a representation of our audience. So, for example, if we're appealing to donors, then it'd be great to have a financial supporter or donor to be able to speak in their language, in the same mindset for them to connect and relate.
So think about the groups we want this interview to be meaningful for, and obviously select people from that constituency.
Right.
It could be volunteers, donors, board members.
Yeah.
Okay.
And someone who's well respected, who's articulate, who's also very passionate and a champion of our particular cause, to be able to speak for us, but also at the same time carry the torch for our audience so that they can connect with them.
Sheri, anything you want to add to finding the right person?
Sure. I always say, think about your whys. Why do you do what you do? But not just why does your organization do what it does, but why does your funders fund you? And why do your participants participate? And when you're finding people to tell your story, you want to make sure that you are covering those three perspectives.
Okay. The three whys.
The three whys, yep.
The three wise men, or no, the three whys.
Yes.
Different whys. Okay. Sheri, let's stay with you now. So we've found the right people. How do we start the process of making them comfortable, evoking the really heartfelt emotion that we're trying to achieve?
Sure. Well, I will actually default to Yasmin because he's really good at that.
Okay.
I'm the one that helps you create the content, think about what you should be eliciting, and he's the one that does the great, powerful interviews.
So maybe you're more on the production side, or
I'm more on the defining what questions you should be asking, what impact you should be drawing out of them, stuff like that.
Okay, we'll come to you very shortly.
Okay,
we got plenty of time together, 25 minutes
Good.
or so. Go ahead, Yasmin.
Great. Yeah. For someone to be at ease, it's really about how you think about the interview or how you think about being on video. A lot of times people focus on the act of being on camera, so they feel like they're being evaluated, they're being judged. Or in an interview, maybe you think of like a job interview or some others where they have to perform and they have to be perfect. And what that does is it raises this level of anxiety where you have to feel like you have to not necessarily be your best or be your most authentic self.
Authentic, yeah. I mean, you're going to be your best if you're your most authentic. If you're just you,
right?
Which is hard to get, even in still
Right.
Still videos,
Yeah.
there's pictures.
It really is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we going to drill down to this?
So part of that is in the initial invitation is instead of, hey, can you do a testimonial? Can you come on camera and do a video? It's about framing it in a way that helps them give instead of being put in a position to perform. And so what I mean by giving is, I'd like to invite you to come and share your story so that we can help inspire others like you. We want to put you in a place where you can be of service to others. And when you're in that mindset of being of service, to be able to share your experiences and insight so that it can help others, it takes that pressure off. Because now it's about your own story, your own experience, and there's no right or wrong. And so that's the first step, is the mindset piece.
Okay, so let's try to avoid characterizing it as a testimonial, or do something that we put a label on.
Right, or even an interview.
Okay.
It should be more of a conversation. And I find that most...
How am I doing so far?
You're doing
great.
great.
Am I failing? Is this a failing grade?
No,
or
you're...
at least a D plus or something?
You're doing great. You've done this a few times.
Okay, I have. Yeah. I'm glad. You're at ease, right? You're at ease.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So tell me more.
So that's the first step is setting up the framework for what that experience is like, giving them information so that they feel prepared. Even some questions, not necessarily for them to prepare a script, but for them to at least be at ease to know what to expect, that there's not going to be this sort of curveball or they're going to be blindsided, because people have a lot of anxiety around, the uncertainty. And so that's another element. And then once you actually get into the session, then it's really about creating that space. I go through a specific routine if I find that someone's either really nervous or they're very tense, where we do an exercise called a Qi Gong slap. And what that is where you basically take your one hand and you slap the part of your front part of your arm all the way back up to your chest, and then you do on the other side, and then down to your legs, and then back up through your back, and then on your head as well. And you do that a couple times.
How hard are you slapping? Like,
Just like this. So you're going back like this.
Okay.
This,
and
then down to your chest, and then back up. And what you're doing is you're activating the various different meridian parts in your body, your head too, as well too. And then once you do that a couple times, you'll notice this sort of tingle. It just activates the energy in yourself. And so that's physically gets you ready. Another
Qi Gong slap.
Yeah.
Right,
you
cool.
can Google that, and they'll be on a YouTube video on that.
All right.
The other part is also getting you into what we call the vortex or the zone, or the peak performance state. And so I listen to some music. So whatever music kind of gets you going here, the whole goal is to.
So are we asking the person? I interrupt all the time.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's bad
that's
bad technique or what, but I want to have a conversation, really.
Sure.
So we're asking the person in advance, what kind of music, or bring some of your favorite music? Or
you bring some of that, but even before the actual interview, I will take time to have a phone conversation just to learn about them. Build that rapport, so we're not meeting for the first time on camera, and that way we feel like we're friends, and I can ask them about different things. So the whole goal is to get them out of their head and into their hearts, because when they start speaking from their heart, when they start opening up, that's when the magic happens.
Outstanding. All right, Sheri, now let's come to you.
Okay.
Questions. Well, Jasmine alluded to a little bit the types of questions. This is where your expertise comes in.
Sure. In terms of thinking about why are you doing this video?
Yasmin,
right?
I'm sorry, I just called you Jasmine. Yasmin, pardon me. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yasmin alluded.
So what's the purpose of the video you're shooting? Who is your audience? What do they care about? And what we know about is, although fundraising is up from where it was pre-Great Recession levels, people want to know that their money is actually making a difference. So no longer can we just say, oh, here's a cute kid, or I'm going to tell you my story about, my family. People really want to know that there's a collective impact going on, that there's, in the measurement world, the outcomes that you're achieving. So you want to think about what are those outcomes that that people want you to be showing, and then make sure your interview questions are addressing those. So people are telling their stories around how they experience the outcomes that you are saying that you're achieving in your organization.
Okay, how they're experiencing it perfectly.
Yes.
And we're going to get really kind of personal, right? Like how it saved your life, improved your life, helped your child, et cetera.
Yeah, so, we have a list of 12 outcomes that typically nonprofits are achieving, like increased knowledge, increased skills, maintenance of new behavior, reduction of undesirable behavior. So know those going in before you start asking your questions, and let your interviewee know that you're going to want to know about, how did this program increase your knowledge or help you get a job or, decrease your, risk for heart disease or whatever it is that your nonprofit's doing. Make sure the questions are aligned with those important outcomes.
Should we stay away from giving exact questions? You will be asked 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I find in doing my show that then leads to scripted questions, lead to scripted answers, and that's not from the heart.
Right.
That's from up here and like memorized. So Sheri, but we want to give them topics,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But not exact questions. Is that the best practice or what? Either.
Yeah.
What?
I found that I can give them some questions, and with a disclaimer that these are some of the similar types of questions that we'll be asking, and then also explain to them how to prepare. So just think about some bullet points or just some stories that may be relevant, but not necessarily prepare a script per se as well too. So that it alleviates the anxiety, but you're also making sure that they don't have a prepared answer per se.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, then that's not the impact you're going to want.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Anything else before we get to the actual? Either of you. Anything else before we get to the actual session with mics and lights and cameras that we should be thinking about that we didn't talk about yet?
I think that's pretty much covers it for
Okay.
now. We're gonna
Okay.
dive a little bit deeper into our session then during that time. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's stuff you're going to say in the session you won't say here? Is that?
We'll
That's not-
actually
that's
go
not
through.
what you mean,
no,
is it?
no, we'll go. We've got some like.
You're not
physical
holding back, are you?
exercises. No, of course not.
Oh,
Not
you
with
have
Tony.
exercises. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
All right. I want to shortchange nonprofit radio.
No, of course not.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we're in the session. So presumably we're in some kind of a studio. We at least got a microphone because it might just. We could just be doing audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that's
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but might be lights and camera also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who's best to ask? What do we do when we're in the studio now?
I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's first getting them into that state. It's a two-part process, getting them into that place where they're not thinking from their mind, they're speaking from the heart. Then the next step, then it's like a dance. Then you're the lead. And so through your mindful questions that you've designed, you've created, both to communicate impact, to elicit, to bring it out from them per se, you're also thinking about what is the overarching storyline that you're trying to create. So one of the things that we're going to discuss in our session is the framework for an appeals type of video. These are the videos that nonprofits play at their events to appeal to fundraisers and donors. And so there's a seven-step formula that I generally recommend to my clients as a guide for creating questions to elicit out those components. So the first part is that emotional hook or that connection. Something, whether it be a piece of data, something that's compelling, or a story that just gets people that initially engaged so they want to continue to watch.
Okay.
The next step then is gratitude. Appreciating the people that are there, the people that have already supported you, recognizing them so then they personally feel connected and engaged. The third part then is impact, showing the difference that their support up until this point has made, to show that you have traction and that you're stewards of their support thus far. Then the next step is really diving into the importance of the purpose or the mission. Why are we all here? Why is it important to support us? Then the next step is to paint a picture of what the future can be. So this is where we are, but this is how much we can, this is how many more people we can serve, this is the greater impact that we can do. And then goes the call to action, which is this is how you can help. This is how you can be a part of us achieving this bigger future. And then the final part is that emotional close, wrapping it up, tying it back to either the mission or completing the circle of the story that leaves them with this emotional connection. But now they see why we're doing this. They also know how they can be a part of it. And that's the framework in which we start to create questions that we start to elicit out in each of the different interviews.
I mean, Sheri, this is a real art.
It is.
Because that's a lot to pack into what's probably going to be, I don't know, like a 4 to 5 minute video or so.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's doable.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, in the session, we're going to share a case study where one organization was able to talk about their recreational program with kids. But at the end of the day, they were able to demonstrate how they had a 57,770% return on investment in those children in terms of really transforming their earning potential over their lives just by this, recreational after school program. And talk about in your fundraising appeal, if you're able to share those stories, talk about those kids' experience, and at the end of the day say, oh, by the way, give us $500 and we'll turn that into $289,000 for these children over the course of their lifetime. That's very powerful, and checkbooks are flying when that happens.
What if we're in our studio session and it's not going so well? Our interviewee is not really loosening up, very tense. You're not getting the kind of emotion you're hoping for. What can we do to break that? Besides the Qi Gong slap, anything else we can do, like in that moment, to loosen him or her up?
Yeah. First of all, I always try with something with physiology, so some physical movement, whether it be breathing or others, just to kind of shake out some of the stiffness there. If that doesn't work, then I start to shift into what are they passionate about. We totally go off
camera, off mic now,
off mic,
off record,
even if the camera is still on, but I shift their focus on, hey, what are you most passionate about? Tell me about your favorite, and start getting really personal. And when they start to then connect with what really means, something to them, then they slowly start to kind of open up in that way. So I found that to be really effective.
It might actually be a good idea to keep the camera rolling or the mic rolling, because you might capture something really good, whether they know it's being captured or not.
Absolutely.
They're more at ease because you've broken that ice, you've broken the tension a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great
Sheri,
question.
anything you want to add?
Well, I was just saying, a lot of it is the magic in editing. So if you know that framework that Yasmin laid out, and that's what you're going for, you're looking for those nuggets that you're going to put into that framework when you go to create your video and edit it together.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Sheri, is that, when you're looking at the post-production editing process, you want to have someone on your team that understands the story framework here. Not just someone that's really a good, an editor or your brother-in-law who knows how to edit video, but someone who understands the purpose, understands the stories, understands elements of marketing as well, so that they can put those pieces together in a meaningful way.
All right, we have plenty of time together, too, so we talk some now about post-production. We moved into that very subtly. That was well done.
Thanks.
Thank you, Yasmin. Well
Yeah.
done. What more about post-production, aside from let's not have an amateur doing it? What else can we say?
Post-production actually starts with pre-production. I always found that it's very important to know the roadmap rather than shooting a bunch of content, audio or visual, and then just dumping it onto someone and saying, here, figure it out. So it's essential to be involved throughout the process. So that's really the key part here. And then the other part is to understand, to have someone who really understands the dynamics of human conversation, per se. There's certain ways in which people speak that are more flattering than others, and so it's a very subtle nuance of how to cut the pieces and then start to assemble them together, and then tie in either music or other elements that enhance that experience, whether it be visuals or other things as well too.
It sounds like you're strongly suggesting that this be done by a professional.
Yes, absolutely.
And they be involved from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Not just that you've given them a raw video file and now they have to try to craft what you're describing.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think especially for your fundraising appeal videos and maybe the things on your website, you're going to ask people to donate to your cause. But I think and you can correct me if you disagree, but for your maybe website testimonials or other things, in our session, Yasmin's going to actually do one on his iPhone. So it just depends on the purpose. Again, understanding what is the purpose of the video you're shooting.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking the last several minutes about at least I think the video that's shown at the gala that ideally is evoking tears and moving a room of 700 people or whatever. But on the other end of the spectrum, Sheri, your point is really well taken.
Yeah.
This could be very low production value with somebody with an iPhone and can still be very, very moving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the production values don't have to be high to be compelling.
Yes.
Depends what your purpose is.
Yeah, and again, it's just starting with understanding your purpose, understanding your audience, understanding your call to action, and then finding the right medium for that.
Yeah,
Yasmin, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about having a storytelling mindset. It's about having a mindset of thinking about what are we doing right now, and who is this meaningful for, and then let's just capture that moment. And especially with technology these days, with our smartphones, or iPhones, or Android phones, the cameras and the equipment is so advanced, and you could capture a great experience by trying to do it in the dark. But if you think about, wow, if I'm constantly thinking about how can I share this moment with someone else and who would benefit and why they would benefit, then you're ready to go. And as far as like professional editing, quite honestly, people can edit themselves, but really I find that like 90+% of the clients and people I work with, it's a tedious process. And that's something that if they can learn how to improve the quality of capturing the experience, that they can hand it off to someone else, even if it's simple edits. It's accessible and affordable for just even the average person who's just doing a video for their e-zine or something like that.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
Yasmin picked up his phone as he was talking. For those who are not watching the video, as a visual, so it could be just that simple.
Yeah.
Sheri, looked like you wanted to add something.
No,
You're
I'm
okay?
just agreeing.
Okay, cool. We still have another couple minutes left together. What have I not asked you that? What have we not talked about? It doesn't matter what stage of it is. What more would you like to say on? It's a great topic.
I think just to kind of reiterate, it's about thinking about this experience, the interview or the video, really as an opportunity for you to help someone else give. And the way that they give is through their insights and experience. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, Tony, to be able to share. And so it's a conversation, and it's an opportunity to give. And I think that really, when you start thinking of it this way, it alleviates a lot of stress and anxiety around the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to leave it there, but we still have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to press a little further on something I was thinking about. When you're recording, do we need to have an interviewer, or should we just let the person kind of go free form and hit on the topic questions, hoping that they'll do that, or do we need to have an interviewer? If it's yes,
yeah,
it's right. I'm an interviewer, so
I think so. And unless the person is experienced and very skilled with being able to create a connection themselves with either the camera, they've had either training, or they can do it naturally. But I would say that the majority of the people are looking to have an interviewer, because the goal is to experience a moment of connection. And how can you experience a connection without having some other person per se?
Unless you're trained to connect with directly to a camera.
And so to answer your question, yes, it's important to have at least someone there to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Because I think if not, it can be very scripted, and we're trying to avoid that scripted feel. So an interviewer helps reduce that scripted feel, more connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
And there is one story I'd like to share, and it's about giving as well too. And Sheri's heard this story a number of times, because this is our third time speaking together here.
Yes.
But last year we were at the Nonprofit Technology Conference, and both of us
I was there too. I didn't see you guys last year.
Yeah.
Somehow I didn't pick you up last year.
Yeah,
all right.
we missed each
We're
other in
glad you
DC.
did.
Yeah. So Sheri and I, we were both staying with our good friends Neil and Heather. Now, Neil and Heather have this amazing 10-year-old daughter named Kendall. And every morning when we sit down for breakfast, Kendall would just light up the room, and she'd ask questions. And
we just have about a minute left.
Okay.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
So anyway,
you're trained. So
you know what? I'm gonna tell part of the rest of the story here, and
Yeah.
I will recap in the session here.
Don't worry about the
I'll tell the
we want to hear your story.
Okay, all right. So then when the last morning that we were there, she just barely looked up from her bowl, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? You seem different." And she said, "Yeah, I've got to go sell Girl Scout cookies today." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with that? People love cookies." She said, "Yeah, but every time I get out there, I get rejected." And so I said, "Yeah, gosh, I totally understand." So I asked her, I said, "Hey, Kendall, how much are your cookies?" She said, "They're $4 a box." So I said, Here's $20. Why don't you give me 5 boxes? She said, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "But here's the thing. I don't eat cookies myself." And so she, but I want you to, what I want you to do is I want you to give these cookies to 5 people that you've never met before. All of a sudden, her eyes lit up. She ran to her mom and said, Mom, guess what? We get to give cookies away. Then I said, now, here, Kendall, here's the reason why I want you to give those cookies away. Because I want you to know what it's like to make someone's day. I want you to see, hear, and feel their appreciation. And then when you're out there and you're asking someone to buy a box of cookies, try this instead. Ask them, hey, is there someone in your life that you really care about? Because I'd like to help you make their day by giving them a box of cookies. So what we're doing is we're creating an opportunity for someone to give. And so similar to this interview experience, when you create an opportunity to give, you shift that dynamic. So
Outstanding.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it there.
Great.
All right. Thank you very, very much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Tony.
My favorite cookies are Thin Mints, by the way. I don't know about you
those
guys.
are
but-
so good. Yeah.
And the samosas are number 2. Yasmin Nguyen, he's founder and CEO of Vibrance Global, and Sheri Chaney Jones is president of Measurement Resources. It's nonprofit radio coverage of NTC 2015, the Nonprofit Technology Conference. Thanks so much for being with us.